separate container, take 1 teaspoon of sugar. This is to rise your yeast. The recipe calls for 2 packages of yeast, and that means 2 tablespoons of yeast. Fill this up with lukewarm water, not hot, it'll kill the yeast. 1 cup, and let's set it aside for about 15 minutes.
So this is what tells you your yeast is working, when it starts to bubble like that, I guess.
Put your dry ingredients in for your Pagach dough. You use 1/2 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and you wait for your milk to scald. You know it'll scald, it'll rise up in the bowl, and it'll have scum on top of it, like it's been soured. You gotta scald 1 cup of milk. I do it in the microwave. Usually takes about 4 minutes. Okay, here is your scalded milk. And I use a mixer. You're supposed to do this by hand, but why? So you turn the mixer on, and you alternate butter and milk. Butter and milk. And that's a whole stick of room temperature butter.
And then your milk is a cup, right? Cup of scalded milk.
Cup of scalded milk, yeah. You wait till that's all incorporated. Because of the hot milk, you can't put your eggs in yet or it'll scramble them. And you can't put your yeast in yet because it'll kill it with the hot milk. So, all incorporated, you can't see very much flour. Then you add 2 eggs, 1 at a time. Whoops, I do.
So how do you know when your yeast is done?
It's risen. You can see a picture of it. It's got a head on it like a nice beer. Then you add it to your dough.
I always thought you had to let the yeast rise a long time.
20 minutes, 15 minutes, it's about it.
You just add a little at a time? Or?
Yeah, so you're trying to incorporate the dough. And then all flours are different, so I've got a really wet dough right here, so I'll probably add another cup of flour.
And we originally started with, what, 5 cups of flour, so we got 6 cups of flour in here now.
The dough is now left the sides of the bowl. That means you got a good mix. You still want to hand mix just a little bit because you have to form it into a ball anyway.
Dough's a little sticky.
You want to work it a little bit. You want to develop the gluten so you have some nice bread.
So you're kind of just kneading it then?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
You're kneading it to, like I said, develop the gluten.
So does it matter what kind of bowl you put in? Do you want plastic, metal?
I use either. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I form it into a ball. That way you can keep an eye on the rise.
So how much does it have to rise?
1 hour, double its size. Okay. Set it aside in a warm place, like if your oven is on, not a hot place, a warm place. So
since it's going to double in size, put a little bit of flour in the bowl.
And that should come up to about here when it's after an hour or whenever it decides the yeast to work its fullest.
Do you put a towel over top?
Yes.
Towel over top. And then let it rise for about an hour. Okay, it looks like our dough is doubled in size, and now we're going to be just about ready for our next step.
Okay, after we turn out our dough from this bowl, put it down on a floured surface. Take the dough, don't knead it, just take it and make it into a log. Divide it into however many. Sometimes you get 6, sometimes you get 8, just depends on how well the dough worked. And you turn it so that there's no, see that one has a fold, I'm going to have to turn that some more. So you don't want any wrinkles in it. I'm going to let these rest.
For how long about?
Oh, a good 20 minutes, maybe half hour. So this basically is the second rise or the second proof of them. We'll make 7 Pagach or This same dough can be used for long nut rolls. It could be used for cinnamon rolls.
Dinner rolls.
Dinner rolls. So it's the same dough. So there you go. And then we just cover it over with a nice clean towel.
If you have a fold, what does it do?
It'll crack in the dough. The dough will crack when you roll it out. That's it. Our balls of dough for the Pagach are raising over here and resting. Pull one out. Kind of think round, 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 round. Punch maybe in the middle. Make a little well. Then you take your potatoes and cheese, which you've already prepared either the day before or several hours. They have to be cool.
And again, it's the same potato and cheese you do for pierogi.
Same thing. Think of like a softball size or whatever to fit your dough. You can make them big, you can make them small. But they seem to play better if they're small. Okay, place that in the center, gather it up. You want to make sure this is sealed really well because when you roll it out, it'll break open and the cheese and potatoes will come out. That's it. Start out with my hands. And I go to the rolling pin. And you can make them round. I always make them the way Mom did, which was kind of egg-shaped. You want them to be, I don't know if that's about 1/4 inch thick. Put it into a sheet pan and usually don't raise it, just stick it in a 350 oven on the bottom rack for 15 minutes, on the top rack for 10 or 15. You kind of put an eyeball on it, make sure they're brown on both sides, and then you butter them when they come out. We'll show you that later.